She shook her head, stepping away from the cell. You're a vampire. I can't help you." His smile widened, the corners of his lips stretching unnaturally. He tilted his head, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that made her knees buckle. "You are the one who's trapped?" "Eliza," he whispered, his voice smooth and luring, like velvet wrapped in poison. "Don't you see? You've come for me, haven't you?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. No, she hadn't come for him. She had come because of her own foolish curiosity. But the way he looked at her, the way he spoke, it felt almost true. She backed away again, but her feet seemed to move slower than they should. Her head felt heavy, foggy. The vampire's smile twisted into something darker, something hungrier. He began to sit up slowly, his movements unnaturally smooth, like a predator stretching before a hunt. "I've waited so long, Eliza, so long. You have no idea how much I've missed company." Eliza's mind raced. What was he talking about? The stories, the whispers. They said vampires were mind readers, that they could control their victims with mere words. She forced her legs to move, stumbling backward, her lantern falling to the floor with a clatter. "Don't leave," he rasped, his voice suddenly sharp. His eyes glowed faintly, a deep red that sent a wave of dread through her. She wanted to scream, to run, but she couldn't. Before she could even react, he was at the bars of his cell, reaching through with one long bony hand. His fingers, ice cold, grazed her cheek as he whispered, "You've come to set me free, haven't you? Let me show you what freedom really feels like." Eliza tried to pull away, but her feet wouldn't obey. She was frozen in place, her body refusing to listen. His cold touch sent an icy jolt through her, and she could feel his breath, slick and fetid, on her neck. She knew deep down that if she let him, he would take everything from her, her life, her soul. Then, just as suddenly, he stopped. His hand withdrew, and for a moment everything was still. The vampire's eyes softened, his grin faded, and a heavy silence filled the space between them. "Perhaps you are not ready," he said softly, almost gently. "But soon you will be." In that moment, Eliza snapped out of her trance. With a desperate gasp, she spun around and bolted toward the door, slamming it behind her. Her pulse roared in her ears as she ran up the stairs, the sound of his voice echoing faintly in the dungeon below. "Remember, Eliza," he called after her, "you can never leave. Not once you've seen me." And as she reached the top of the stairs and fled into the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was following her.